Do you like pop culture?
I do.
I wasn't talking to you, Andrew.
Aw.
If you enjoy movies, television, all that kind of stuff, we have a lot of fun on Sif Pop Podcast, part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. So you can come check us out every week. You can listen live or just download it to your podcast feed.
Every single week, Aaron breaks down the newest movies that are big in theaters, and I make funny noises. You could probably pick one of those that you would like. You can join us every weekend live by looking at Spreaker.com/StudioDNA, or you can find us in your podcast player of preference by searching for Sift Pop.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 19 of Disney Plus Reviews. I'm one of your co-hosts, Phil Souza, and I'm here with my co-host, my good friend, and the only Jedi with none of the weaknesses of the Force. It's Jack Altermat.
I'm Casey Case. Hi, how's it going? I'm here.
Top 40 Jedi
Wow.
hits.
Ahsoka has a long-distance request for her friend Anakin. And she writes.
If you're just joining us for this podcast, we are an unofficial Disney Plus podcast reviewing the most popular stuff on Disney Plus.
Officially
And
unofficial.
if you couldn't tell, we are in a Jedi, Clone Wars, Star Wars mood.
Jedi.
This Saturday as we record.
Mind.
If you've been following our podcast, as you know, every other week we are talking about Clone Wars. Why every other week, you say? Well, some of the episodes are only like 19 minutes long, like episode 3. So that's a little difficult to craft an hour podcast around it. Sometimes we, actually most episodes we go a little over an hour. But yeah, those episodes would be really short, I think, if we were just covering one episode at a time. So, and it gives us the opportunity to discuss other things on Disney Plus in the interim. So this week we're going to be talking about, on this episode, episodes 3 and 4 of season 7 of the Clone Wars. Then next week we will be back talking about something else that we have plans. I'll talk about that at the end of the episode. So, and then 2 weeks from now, 2 episodes from now, you'll see episodes 5 and 6. And we'll continue that all the way up until the final 12th episode of season 7, and then go every week on just new things after that point. So we're dedicated to the Clone Wars. We're going to be reviewing every episode, and today is episodes 3 and 4. Spoilers abound. So if you have not watched episodes 3 and 4, we're going to spoil every aspect of them and talk about them and all of their meaty, delicious details. And so definitely go if you care about spoilers. If you don't care, I guess you can listen, but we're going to talk about those. So 3 and 4, come back and hit play on this episode. Jack, episodes 3 and 4. This is the wrap up of. It's basically been a very neat, neatly tied up in a bow 4-episode story arc about the Bad Batch. How did you feel in general about these episodes? We'll get into the details.
I felt like they kind of laid some new ground for the Bad Batch when they started basically they started this season off. They added a nice wrinkle to them. I think, like you said, it's 4 episodes of the Bad Batch, and then the special thing at the end to add to that. I feel like and I've said this before, they kind of pulled from how G.I. Joe's formula worked in the old G.I. Joe animated series stuff, and how you'd have these characters that have certain abilities, and you give them kind of fun names, and you make them tough, and 99.9% of the time they're in charge and they're doing a good job, and they're not like any opposition to them is going to be easily squished.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that in these characters, because at no point with the Bad Batch were you ever, am I wrong to think, did you ever think any of them were actually in peril? No.
These are essentially superheroes in this universe, other than Jedi, being the obvious one. But
they're good because, like, in a clone world where all the people look the same and are clones, now you have an excuse to give clones a new kind of wrinkle.
Yeah, they're more than clones, but less than Jedi. Still, I still feel like they're they're less invincible than a Jedi.
Right, but they're
pretty close.
Well, and they're obviously not as powerful because you could kill off the Crosshair. Is that guy's name?
Yeah, Crosshair's the sniper.
You could kill him off. He's not like all powerful, flying around, invincible, and you could kill him off with the right. Darth. What's his face? General Grievous showed up. I mean, if he was around, he would, could kill him one-on-one. It was like, does that make sense?
And I've always gotten the sense in Star Wars that there is no sacred characters. Like any character can be killed off at any time.
Or lose their hands.
Yeah. there's actually, for the Clone Wars series, at least, there's a pretty major death that happens in episode 4 in this one. And that I assumed would be coming, but, we didn't necessarily know. And then, Jedi.
It was kind of unceremonious.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but and then of course the Jedi, mostly in the movies, will have their death scenes as well. So yeah, anyone can die at any point, and I certainly didn't necessarily expect any of the 4 from the Bad Batch to die, but at the same time, if one of them had died, it wouldn't necessarily have been weird for the series, for just Star Wars in general, let alone Clone Wars. Clone Wars, I think, has already shown itself to be dark even before season 7. Like there's been, Echo. I mean, Echo himself was perceived dead in season 3.
Yeah, and then the way they brought him back, and he's a shell of himself.
Yeah,
he still has value though, and we find that out in this episode that over time, I thought they would kill him.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to be like he'd be back, and it would be this bittersweet thing where he came back, and then he ended up losing him again.
Yeah,
but ...
Yeah.
Something is afoot.
Yeah. I mean, because it's essentially a prequel to things that happen in episode 3 of the movies, let alone all the movies that come after that. We know major characters aren't going to die. Yoda's not going to die. Mace isn't going to die. Like, we see those characters' ultimate endings later in the series. So there's certain characters we know are safe, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I think anyone else can die unless we see them in some other later property.
Right.
Like, for example, Rex is definitely not going to die in this season because
we know
he shows
later
up.
on. Yeah,
yeah,
he's gray and
in
old.
The movies.
He's gray and old.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he shows up in the other series.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's around. So
yeah. So
yeah.
Well, let's get into the kind of recap. We'll kind of go beat by beat.
Beat by beat. Oh, baby.
The BB-8. Beat by beat through the episodes and just kind of talk about what we found interesting about them. I think, generally, I'm speaking for both of us here, I guess, but I think generally speaking, we've been very pleased with the series.
Yeah,
I think it's going really well.
Here's the problem. Mandalorian got me so excited about Star Wars properties, and then this came out, and I automatically was like, well, here we go again. And I'd seen all the Clone Wars shows, and I knew what it would be like. But in my mind, I'm like, well, they're probably going to try to match that. It's like, no, I can't. I mean, it's not impossible.
Looking back on that, I did 100% the exact same thing that you said.
That's my fault.
So I'm guilty of it too.
That's our fault. That's not like, it's not like Clone Wars is like, we're trying to be, but they're trying to be Clone Wars.
Looking back on that was kind of a dumb thing to think just because
we were so pumped at the Mandalorian.
we just wanted more of that, and it's like, no, you're gonna get more Clone Wars, which is a totally different
still great.
style. Yeah. And as far as Clone Wars goes, I think honestly we're watching some of the best Clone Wars episodes now.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's just not gonna be. It's none of this is gonna come up to the Mandalorian level.
Right.
So, and that's fine. It is a animated series ultimately for younger aged people that adults can also enjoy, and that's what it is. Mandalorian is not going for that. So
yeah.
Okay, so
not going for it, but they got that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They got that.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone wants a Baby Yoda.
Everyone likes it. So beginning of episode 3, picks up literally minutes after episode 2. They're at the very beginning of the episode. They've got Echo. At the end of episode 2, they had Echo, but they hadn't escaped or anything. So they're trying to escape, and they're just getting completely descended upon. Like all these droids are coming to attack, and they're admittedly kind of backed up against a wall. They're in a room with only one exit, they think, at the time, and all these droids are coming for them. They try to blast through them and kind of create a corridor. That's not going to happen, and so basically they end up just barring the doors and just kind of locking themselves in and just waiting it out, trying to see what they can do. I love these new droids, by the way. Like the
ones that fly.
Yeah, they call them D-wings.
Yeah, and they're cool because they add a little bit of, at least they're flying, shooting at you, and that adds a level of danger.
Yeah,
but that's the techno union.
Yeah,
and they kind of
they have the latest models. For sure.
And they have the latest ability to make those models. I still crack up at how bad the droids are and how they're basically just...
They're still pretty stupid.
Well, they're meant to just be a huge amount of things shooting at you.
Yeah.
And you have to slowly work through this large amount of things.
They're going for quantity, not quality.
Oh, they're not quality. Like, but they take a lot to saw down. Like, has a Jedi ever been killed by a droid like that? Like a...
General Grievous kills a Jedi or maybe two.
It's General Grievous.
Yeah.
I'm talking one of those regular droids.
Oh, just like the
Roger Rogers.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Ever. There's got to be one. One unlucky.
On the books somewhere,
One sad, unlucky
someone
guy.
we've never heard of.
Worst upset of all time.
I mean, there were thousands of Jedi at some point, and it got whittled down to just a few dozen at one point. So,
in seconds, it got whittled down.
Well, true. I'm sure someone has been killed by a droid.
It'd be funny to find out.
It would be.
I'll probably look that up later.
That would be awesome to know his sorry name. So anyway, they have like 6 arms, 6 appendages. They have 2 legs and then 4 arms, and they're kind of, I guess, ant-like in that kind of way. But they have like 2 arms that kind of hang over their shoulders, and it's really, I don't know. They have a really cool design. Later in the episode, we see that they can fly, so they're cool. They're called D-wings, I think. But anyway, we see Wat Tambor. He says, "Send in the decimator," and
which is cool.
I don't know that we'd seen this weapon before.
It's a lot like the probe droid that gives you an injection.
Yes.
During when they're interrogating you,
or like Luke Skywalker when he's learning to use the Force, right, in Episode 4. Like he's he has the shield over his eyes where he can't see, and it's floating around him. It's basically a floating sphere, but it can shoot like electricity, lightning, essentially out like 360 degrees all the way around its sphere like form, and it can apparently vaporize organic life. So a little bit of like nerdery here for a second. All 4 of these episodes, I think all 4, were previously released for Comic-Con viewers only at a San Diego Comic-Con a long time ago, back in 2014 or 2013, 2015, somewhere in there. And so a number, like thousands of people saw these like not finished, very rough CGI model type episodes. They have the entire episodes. They were, I think, fully voice acted and everything, but they weren't finished episodes. And they got to see like preview of these episodes. Then the show got canceled. And so these episodes never released. Well, now they're releasing them now, 6 years later. Mm-hmm. And so some people out there already knew the plots of some, I guess you can watch them on YouTube. I haven't gone looking for them. I guess they're kind of rough to watch. But there is a deleted scene, a scene that appeared for the Comic-Con audience and for YouTube, that doesn't appear in this episode. And it's actually a scene where the Decimator actually kills one of the Poletecs, one of the local native people on this planet, and basically reduces a humanoid body to goo, like just like Jello.
Fun.
Yeah. And so we don't actually see the effects of it in this episode, probably because Disney were like, we're not showing that.
Right.
But that is essentially what the Decimator is capable of.
Wow.
And so, he's basically going for the throat. And he's just going to vaporize all of them.
Fact check.
Yeah.
Clone Wars Season 3, Episode 3, called Supply Lines. There's a literal Jedi named Ima Gundy.
I'm a Gundy, yeah.
I'm a Gundy.
Yeah.
But his name is I'm a Gonna Die.
Oh.
And literally his little group is killed by a droid army.
By those
they're holding off
B1 droids?
They're holding off some people and they're killed by that.
Oh, interesting. I don't remember that part.
Anyway, I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die.
There you go. Thanks, Quora.com.
All right.
Quora.com. It's not Reddit. It's Quora.com.
So I guess his name kind of gave it away.
I guess so.
His sorry name.
Sad.
So
R.I.P. I'm a gonna.
They just literally seconds before the Decimator comes in, Tech one of the four from the Bad Batch, hacks the computer system, is able to unplug Echo from the computer. He's all right, apparently, which I thought was kind of weird. He just has a headache, apparently, and he's okay and remembers everything.
Not dehydrated, not, hungry.
I mean, he's basically, think about Neo when he was unplugged from the Matrix.
I guess he was basically in a pod feeding him, so he's been that. But he would be malnourished.
I mean, he looked awful when he got unplugged from the Matrix, and he was like out of sorts for a long time.
It took him a while to get healthy, to get his coat to be shiny again.
Anyway, I don't think they're going for that kind of darkness in this series, but he's fine. So they find an opening in the ceiling, and Wrecker throws them one at a time, it's so cool to see his strength, his level of abilities. Throws them 40 feet, 30 or 40 feet into the air, straight into this. It's like a vent.
It's an air duct.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, the exit is always an air duct.
You always have to crawl through something. And throws them up there one at a time. Anakin says, "Hey, I got it," and he just jumps up there. Force jump.
There. Yeah.
And then Wrecker wrecks the computer. He takes a few thermal detonators and throws them on there. We don't see the detonation right away. Anakin pulls him up via the Force, like literally like a second before he gets vaporized by the decimator when it comes in. I always enjoy watching Force pulls like that, especially a human. Like I'm sure Wrecker is more than 200 pounds. Like he's a big dude, and so he just lifts him up like he's nothing and pulls him up into the air duct. Echo basically, in the way of plot movement, says, "Hey, I've got an inside scoop on the Techno Union. Like they didn't just get data out of me; I also got data from them, and it was kind of a two-way street." And so he's like, "I know the way out. Like I know all their diagrams, every last detail related to the tech union is in my brain right now, and so I can get us out of here." And so the only way out apparently is across this huge long pipe. And I knew, like before they even started, I was like, "Okay, Wrecker's gonna." We already knew that Wrecker was kind of terrified of being up high. So yeah, of course they do a little gag on that. By the way, I think it's worth noting, like I don't think a lot of these episodes have a lot of humor in them. Not that the previous seasons had a ton of humor either. Although I will say there are episodes in the Clone Wars previous seasons. I'm up to about halfway through season 4, and there are episodes with R2-D2 and C-3PO that are very funny. There are episodes with Jar Jar, which is it's physical comedy for the most part, and the stuff that he gets into is just like so stupid. But it's also played for laughs. We haven't really seen any of that in this season, and I'm not saying that there are just tons and tons of these episodes, but I'll be interested to see if we have any episode this season. They might be going for just a real dark, very serious tone this season. So anyway, we do get a couple laughs, a few light chuckles from Wrecker in this part. And it's starting to look really dire because they're about halfway through this pipe. They're hesitant to even be on it in the beginning.
And it's way out there.
It's way up. I mean, these buildings themselves are the actual buildings. The bottom of the building is way up above the ground.
Yes.
And then this pipe is about halfway up the building. So they are thousands of feet, maybe 1,000 feet from the ground, and droids are coming at them from both sides.
Cloud City.
It is.
Think Cloud City. You're so far up there that it's like you're so far in the sky, and there's a structure that far up in the sky, and so your concept of I'm way above the Earth, like or whatever's down there, is kind of devoid. Like you're thinking it's so high. It's almost like so high that you're like, well, there's not even really a threat. Like if you fall, you're just dead. I mean, there's no.
Yeah.
Like there's only two options.
I kind of get the sense that, I mean, obviously Jedi would feel this way, but most of the characters, the clone troopers, I guess, are the only other major characters we see, don't really seem to be affected by fears. Wrecker is exclusion, but they don't have a lot of the same fears that we do, and it's just because they're around these dire moments all the time, and I'm not being trained to be.
Well, I'm not meaning to skip ahead, but like in the second episode of this we're going to talk about today, Mace Windu makes an appearance, and Obi-Wan together.
Yeah.
And they both jump into a building, and it looks like they fall for like 150, 200 feet.
Yeah.
And land on their feet.
Yeah.
Which that to me is like, is that possible in this? And like in Jedi world, it's like crazy to me.
Yeah. We know the Jedi can can fall from great heights and be okay.
Unbelievable.
When the other ones come down, I think they come down by zip line.
Yeah.
Like when the troopers actually join them.
But I'm saying, like, that to me is amazing. Like, so maybe the Jedi fall from that height, they'll figure out a way. Maybe the midichlorians and their bodies.
They just use the Force to slow them down. Like they use
now
force
they
push.
could do that. Yeah, that's true.
They seem to land gently on their feet when they fall from that height. But
it's amazing. These are amazing creatures.
Yeah, we know they can jump long distances. So I think the opposite would be the same. And we don't really know a lot about these planets. Like, I mean, how's gravity and all that kind of stuff. Anyway,
it's true.
So they're cornered. Both ends of the pipe, the doors on both sides of it are just flooding out with droids. And they're trying to shoot back and deflect blaster bolts and stuff like that, but it's looking pretty bad. And then very conveniently, I might add, Tech says, by the way, guys, I just happened to record the call of the Keeradak, which are these flying creatures that are on the planet. Oh, I forgot to mention that.
Yes.
But, I do have recordings of their call. And so...
and it sounds like this. And then what happens? Here comes Toothless.
Yeah, it is that way.
It's very Toothless.
It's How to Train Your Dragon.
And here he comes in, and they hop on, and then they, like, much like Lord of the Rings, the eagles come and save them. Well, now in Star Wars, the Clone Wars, they fly off on the Keeradaks.
Keeradaks. Yeah, the name of the episode is called On the Wings of Keeradaks.
On the Wings of a Keeradak.
They also cut that song from...
We're taking Jedi back on the wings of a Keeradak. Wings of a Keeradak. Thank you. That's my new album.
Coming to you exclusive from San Diego Comic Con. The song that was also cut from the episode. So they fly and they're like, okay, we're good because the droids can't follow us now. And then they do. The droids grow wings basically, and it's revealed that they're called D-Wings.
D-Wings.
And these
delicious
new
wings.
droids, buffalo
delicious
buffalo wings.
Mm.
And then we find out that the new droids can fly. They fly after them, and then it gets. This is my only real true negative with this episode. There's nothing that comes out of this. Like, you think there's going to be this huge firefight of like dogfighting style, like, oh, we're going to have to escape these things, whatever. A few of the it's revealed that the droids can fire while flying, so they're firing blasters at them in pursuit.
Which for a droid, that's a big accomplishment. That's a big deal. Like, it's a big upgrade.
To be able to pull it off.
Well, because they're made to be cheaply destroyed, and I think that the Techno Union people don't want to put too much money into making these pieces of crap, but they figure out a way to make wings. This is probably a big day for their techno scientists that day. Oh, hey, we've added these wings to these droids. Can you believe it? How expensive. Oh, it'll be barely an inconvenience. Barely added finances. Then let's do it.
Why not? But they outrun them like within like 20 seconds.
Yes.
There's a very quick chase scene. There's like 4 or 5 droids that end up flying after these 4 or 5 Keeradaks with people on them, and one of them spins off and like gets typical Star Wars style, gets destroyed in the side of a crag of a rock or whatever. But the other 4 are still in pursuit. And then the very next, literally, they do a hard cut, and then they just are showing up at with the Poletecs.
But the whole point is the drag. They drag
to follow them.
They follow them. They're bringing the war to these native people, and now the war has come to their village. They must fight.
I feel like there's some extra clips, like a 5 or 6 second clip that got
left
deleted.
Out. Yes,
that shows them slowing down or not being able to keep up with them or something. Like the Keeradaks are too fast for them or whatever, and they just don't show that.
Yeah,
like all of a sudden they just arrive and they're like, well, where are the droids? And then of course we see them a little bit later.
That is true.
For about 30 seconds there, I was just like, what just happened? Like, how did they just show up?
They probably left something out.
So anyway, so they show up at this tribe, this Poletecs tribe. Tribe, and they again about 30 seconds later, they're talking to him for a little bit. The droids do show up. They kill most of them, but one of them gets away and goes back to Wat Tambor, we're assuming. The Poletec leader is very upset, as you just said, because they broke their word. Like, he was like, hey, we will help you get your man back, Echo back. And so, but then you're off planet and you leave us alone. Don't bring us into this war. And then now all of a sudden, these guys, Rex and all of his boys and Anakin, have to tell the Poletec leaders, look, hey, the droids are coming here. Like, they're going to attack this village. And we're sorry. It's basically the best they can say.
Sad.
And it's a pretty serious, pretty sad moment. They're translating, of course. Tech is translating for them. But yeah, he's clearly upset about this. They kind of dissipate the anger a little bit. Just I don't. It's not completely, but I think the Poletecs start to understand the situation that they're in when they see Echo.
Yeah.
So like Rex actually points out to him. He says, "Hey, tell him translate for me. Tell them to look at him. Look at what they've done to Echo." And they show like he's got like a prosthetic arm, like he has no arm from his right elbow down to his hand. It's just metal. He's basically a cyborg at this point. They've basically dehumanized him into a cyborg, and they're like, "Hey, look, this is the seriousness." And it's in that moment. I think the most important part of the scene, and really these two episodes, or this episode, I guess, and the episode before it, episode 2, is that at this point, from this point forward, the Poletecs know that the Techno Union is not as neutral as they have been saying. The only reason that they've allowed the Techno Union to be on their planet is that they're abstaining from the war. They have nothing to do with either side.
Right.
They're providing goods for both sides. They don't care. They're not siding with either part of the war. Well, in this moment, when they see what they've done to Echo, they're like, okay. Like, we know that they picked a side now. Right. And they actually say that. I think they said, now you know that they're with the separatists. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really powerful to watch.
It's cool.
And so they obviously, there's going to be too many droids coming for them. And I think they're waiting for support to pick them up. Or I can't remember why they have to stay. But maybe it's just to not leave the Poletecs by themselves.
Well, no, they know the Poletecs, the what are they called? Pterodactyls? The
Keeradaks?
Keeradaks. They saw them. The droids saw them. The Techno Union saw them. Now they know in their minds that these native people, now they've sided with them, and we're going to make them pay.
Yeah.
And so that's where they're going to show up, and they're going to bring the full force of the evil
They're not going to
separatists.
just leave them like this.
No. So here they show up, and they're going to try to destroy them. And luckily, there's spears involved.
Yeah.
It's very Ewok.
Oh, it is,
but it's more active, agile, and some of the Poletecs passed away.
Yeah,
when the droids and the droid army and all these things start showing up, but luckily for us, there's a Jedi, there's the Bad Batch, and then there's Rex in effects, and our friend Echo. Human cyborg relations.
Literal cyborg.
So he they fight him off. The Poletecs are excited. They won. They'll never be bothered again. They probably are questioning their gods now, though, because they worship these animals. And think about it this way:
the Keeradaks?
Yeah, they say that they worship these winged animals.
We see them worship them.
Okay, well, the Keeradaks saved the not the rebels, but the Alliance people. What are the good guys called in this?
The Republic?
The Republic. That saved those people.
Yeah.
So they've got to be questioning, what do we believe?
I didn't think
these
about
things
that.
we worship. Now they're saved. They saved them. In fact, they just took off. Bonk Bonk was riding one and fell off, and he fell and passed away, and they saved the clones and Anakin.
Yeah.
Bonk Bonk's dead. This is a deleted scene.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it. So they've got to be questioning that. So now the Jedi, they've completely screwed up. If this were Star Trek and the, what's the order?
Prime Directive.
Prime Directive. They have botched this huge, like Kirk always does. Picard always does it too.
Yeah, no one ever follows.
No one ever follows. Well, we must save the people because we got to save the people. Prime Directive be danged. We're gonna. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they've done it. They've screwed it up. Now this whole thing. You watch in 10 years, we will revisit this tribe, and they will be cyborgs, or they will be something else. They will have fashioned gear to look like troopers.
Yeah. It would be cool to see the effects of the presence of the Techno Union on that planet, like how it changes the planet.
Yeah.
Would be pretty cool to watch.
I just thought I'd bring that to your attention.
Yeah.
I know you hadn't really covered it. And I thought,
Good information.
well, I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
Something to think about. Can't just go flying in there and thinking everything's going to be hunky-dory just because Anakin's around. He's a Skywalker. They're like, they don't care.
Yeah.
Bonk Bonk's dead. He fell off that Keeradak. Okay? Just point it out to you, Phil. I'm not trying to be a jerk. These are people. I mean, they're cartoon animated people in a galaxy long ago, far away. But it's a real story here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think the best part of the fight easily was that big, like, I think they're called Trimex, but it's like a huge spider droid. It's like 10 feet tall.
Yes.
There's actually two of them, I think. And they push one into the other, but before they push it, it has to be dismantled like one arm at a time. And it was, I thought, so cool to watch that action sequence, how Anakin basically kind of jumps on top of one of them, and then he's just kind of slicing off like appendages and little gun turrets, and just like one piece at a time, just kind of like dismantling this thing. And then basically they get it so where it's kind of reeling, and then he jumps off of it and then force pushes with his hands and pushes this gigantic 10-story building over on top of the other one to cause this mass collision, and that kind of turns the tide of this short battle. It was really cool to watch.
Cool.
I really enjoyed that. So, by the way, the Wrecker throws a couple of them up there as well, so it's not just Anakin, but yeah, they're shooting parts of it off, and like it's very very precision oriented. Like let's get this piece. You know, if you're playing a video game, it's like hit all the red spots.
Oh gosh, or if it's a PlayStation remote, it'd be like X, triangle, circle, square, like over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So anyway, they carve it up and then let it fall, and it was pretty cool. So
let it fall.
But that is essentially all of episode 3. I think as far as episodes go, this is probably the one episode where there's not a ton of plot development. We learn a little bit about Echo and what his mentality, like what his mental state is. And we see at the very end, the Poletecs say, we're your allies now. Like if you ever need us, we're on the side of the Republic.
Well, they have to be.
They're
Keeradaks.
Yeah.
The Keeradaks sided with them for a bit,
but
they're confused.
That's kind of about it. There wasn't a whole lot to discuss with that episode. I think the real meat, I think, is in the wrap up, the episode 4. So we'll get into that next. They get Echo. So we're in episode 4, which is called Unfinished Business. They get Echo back to Anaxes, where this all started. So we started in episode 1 on this planet. Now we're finally back. This is, to refresh your memory, is basically the fleet. It's the ship. I don't know. Not harbor is not the right word, but like it's a place where they basically manufacture and
shipyard.
Shipyard. Thank you. Where they keep all the Republic ships. And so at this time, it's pretty strongly insinuated, if not overtly, that the Separatists are in control. Like they control essentially the planet, and the clones are kind of fighting back to kind of regain control of this planet and the shipyard. Echo wants to help. He says, "Hey, like I'm good. Like I'm all better, guys. I feel good. I have a headache still. I took some ibuprofen."
I know. It's like I'm just like amazed at this guy's resiliency. What's different, guys? I've been gone for like 3 years, frozen in stasis. Having my mind manipulated. I would be not sure what was real and what wasn't real, but I'm ready to go.
I'd be like, hey guys, I'm just going to sleep for the next 36 hours.
I'm not sure where, but I'm going away forever.
So, but no, he wants to jump in. He says, I'm the best chance we have to take back Anaxes.
They're very untrustworthy. They very much do not trust Echo. And it's not that they don't trust him. It's just that he's been hooked up to this machine.
Sure.
And the Techno Union has been using him.
Yeah, Tech, the character Tech, one of the 4 of the Bad Batch, basically at one point says like, hey, they've been controlling him for months now. Like, how are we to assume that they're not controlling him still even now?
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was a really neat wrinkle. I think that was something they didn't have to include, but including it made a lot more questions in my mind as I was watching the episode, which I really enjoyed.
Right.
So that's
good.
The unsureness of it. So, since they destroyed the comm vaults, is what they call it in episode 1, they've moved it now to above the planet. So it's in this dreadnought ship. And they said, basically, if Echo's plan is, if you can get me onto that ship into, that secret chamber where like all the information comes out of the supercomputer. I can feed information to, I thought he was going to say like, I could shut it down or I can give him false, directives. But he says, no, I'm going to give him directives that make sense to them. But it's just that what they're going to do before they do it. So we're going to turn the tides.
Yeah, and then you
flip
can,
it on its head.
But even in that, they're very worried about what that means and that he may be double crossing them.
Sure.
Or he maybe he's controlled by them.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. That was cool.
Suspense building.
This is very unique for the Star Wars series. Like, we haven't really seen a whole lot of. There's been espionage, but there's not been like, we're going to control the movement of troops. Like, we're going to actually go in and make the separatist droids do this action.
Yes.
And I thought that was really neat. This story that they're building here, that they just finished building. So, but yeah, in the middle of the first few minutes of episode 4, I was like, let's go. Like, this is awesome. So this time the Republic forces will be ready for whatever they do because they obviously know what they're going to do. Tech isn't very sure of it. Let's see. Echo, they get up to... when they were approaching the Dreadnought, because one of my first questions was like, how are they going to get on this thing? Like, they're obviously going to see them coming a mile, 10 light miles away. Whatever. However you
light miles.
However you track
I'm with you.
Space. And sure enough, the couple of the really stupid droids, they're stupid.
Roger.
But they're still smart enough to know, hey, like, we've never seen that ship before. But then he sends he like uses his arm to like send, like, he has some like separatist droid abilities.
Code or whatever it is.
He is essentially a cyborg. Like, he has like robotic abilities now.
Yeah, he is.
And so he sends some kind of electro signal to the Dreadnought saying, hey, nothing to see here. It's just another droid ship. And they go, okay, Roger, you guys can dock on, docking bay E or whatever. And so they go over there and get in there. And there's no fanfare. Like, they don't even show it docking and them getting off the ship. Like, it cuts to a scene on the planet with Mace and Obi-Wan, I think. And by the time they go back, they're already inside that room. So like, they're really skipping through a lot of stuff that they just wouldn't have to deal with in this episode.
Well, they've got to compact these things into under 30-minute episode. Normally, it really only has 23 minutes of action. I noticed that today. Like this morning when I watched this episode, like the credits are long at like normal length, and the episode is 24 minutes, and credits might be 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes, and it's like,
I think each of these episodes were only like 19 or 20 minutes of actual footage.
So it's interesting. This is not on, and this is a dumb question. It's only on Disney. Yeah, it's only on Disney Plus.
Exclusive.
There's not any. Yeah, there's no television need anymore.
I could see them like maybe syndicating this later, like on the Disney Channel. Or whatever.
And the Clone Wars have been syndicated. That show has been syndicated on. I mean, I know Cartoon Network played it at one point, and there's other places that have played it. And so they're probably still formatting it in a TV way.
Yeah,
in case they want to do that,
but 19 minutes seems a little too short. Like, usually those are about
22 is the break. Yeah. So I mean, but they could dull that out somehow too.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I don't know. It's weird. Well, and even on Disney Plus, you can skip the intro. So like, you know what I'm saying? That even shortens it even more if you don't watch that. So I don't know.
So so they get in there, and then Windu cuts to the planet. Windu and his boys are attacking the assembly planes. Is all they really say about it. And Admiral Trench, which is, again, to refresh your memory of episode 1, is like this kind of spider-like creature. He's got multiple arms and like kind of fang teeth. And
his
stuff
dad
like
was
that.
on. His dad was on Monsters Inc.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
His
he
dad
does look a lot like him.
James Coburn's character from Monsters Inc.
Yeah. And Admiral Trench thinks his droids easily have another victory on their hands. They're cornering these guys like with like tens of thousands of droids. It's going to be piece of cake. And so then back on the Dreadnought, the Bad Batch are sneaking
Bed Bath and Beyond.
Bed Bath.
Sorry.
Sneak Echo in and plug him into the computer, and just in time, because Trench tries to contact Skako Minor thinking that Echo is still there. He calls him the algorithm. We'll get advice about how to counterattack from the algorithm. Tech modifies the signal that's coming from the ship, because he's like, hey, if we just send the signal from the ship to the ship, they're going to know exactly what's going on here. And so he does his little magic, his little techno magic.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it basically makes it look like the signal is still coming from Skako Minor, even though it's not. And and basically says, yeah, do this. Send your troops. Send everything you've got to this one place. Let's put all the droids into one basket here and attack Mace and Obi-Wan and them. And then I have to talk about this scene. One of my favorite scenes in the entire series so far is Mace freaking Windu in this hangar. I wrote it down word for word what he says because it is so awesome.
Hit it.
So Mace Windu and Obi-Wan drop down into this hangar, like Jack was saying earlier. They jump down, and it's literally just the two of them. And there's 500 droids, maybe. It is packed with droids that they easily are cornered here. And Mace Windu, you think he's just going to go in and just start carving them up, right? He delivers this awesome speech to the droids, and I wrote it down because it's so cool. He says, "My name is General Mace Windu of the Jedi Order. At this point in the Clone War, I have dismantled and destroyed over 100,000 of you Type 1 battle droids." Think about that, 100,000.
Yeah, which is quite true.
Yeah. "I'm giving you an opportunity to peacefully lay down your weapons so that you can be reprogrammed to serve a better purpose than spreading this mindless violence and chaos which you have inflicted upon the galaxy." So cool, man. Mm-hmm. And then their response is, "Blast them!
Blast them!"
And then Obi-Wan says, "Well, I guess it was worth a try."
Yeah.
So, but
pretty cool.
I think this is cool for a lot of ways. One, it shows we don't get a lot of Mace Windu in the movies. Like we have these little short scenes. It's one of the bigger scenes is honestly probably his death scene, but where you see Mace Windu's power, and he is a pretty prominent Jedi in the Jedi Order at this time. But it's really in the Clone Wars that we get to see some of his swagger. And I think in this scene, like we're really seeing that like he is not afraid of these things. No. Like he just jumps down there with one other Jedi. He's clearly outnumbered, and he's basically offering them civility. Like, hey, if you just surrender, we'll go ahead and reprogram you and not kill you all. And I think that was so awesome just to see that kind of braveness from him. So, and then I think the other thing that's worth discussion on this scene is that it is a rare moment where humans are speaking to droids about, if I can get deep for a second, about autonomy, like that he's giving them the option to not be a mindless drone and actually like take charge and like say, hey, we're not going to listen to what the separatist leaders are telling us to do. And I don't think that will ever be shown in actual like true light, like in any of the movies or any other show or something like that. It is a fascinating thing that they dropped in this episode.
Pretty crazy.
So what do you think about that? Like,
I thought it was kind of weird, but I also am like, it's kind of interesting, that approach, because Windu has a little, like, and Jedi in general have a little bit of different take about organisms and creatures and that sort of thing. Like, so like, even in, if you go back to New Hope, I mean, think about the way Obi-Wan talks to R2-D2 and C-3PO. I mean, he already knew them though. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So there's a different there, but Jedi's treatment of those creatures are different than others.
Yeah, that's true.
But these creatures, I mean, they don't have any, I mean, what's the droid going to do? You're right.
Yeah.
We surrender.
Yeah.
No, they don't have.
Yeah, and I think even Mace probably knew that, and Obi-Wan certainly knew that. He's like, well, it was worth a try, but we just need to mow these things down like we have 100,000 other times. But it was a rousing speech. I went back and watched it again because I just really enjoyed that. Meanwhile, Echo is so I already covered that. He sends all the droids to them, and he is basically going to neutralize them all, and we actually see that. So the clones actually drop down, and they're struggling against them, but doing pretty well. And they're like, okay, well, maybe that was all of them. And then 3 times as many come in and absolutely surround them. At one point, they're literally circled. Like the wagons are circling around these guys, and it's not looking very good at all. And then it's not really explained how he does this, which I'd love to know more about, like the details of how all this tech works, which they'll probably never cover. But Echo basically shoots some kind of signal into the sky and from the Dreadnought ship, and basically like electrifies like the entire room.
Yeah, and shuts them all down basically.
Like an
EMP basically.
It is an EMP, but you see it visually. Like, as I understand, an EMP is just like you wouldn't see like electricity around the room, but it is essentially the effects of an EMP, and takes them all out in one shot. So
Echo wasn't lying.
No,
He
yeah.
was not lying, and he is to be trusted.
Yeah, and there was some internal struggle. Like Anakin was like, "No, we're going to trust him." Like
Well, the 99 clone division people, the Bad Batch, they are basically like, they're not trusting that. Like, they just don't trust him.
yeah,
But then they do.
yeah. I think you're right. I think it's just Rex and Anakin that are kind of no. Let's give him the benefit of the
Well,
doubt.
and you kind of, as a storytelling thing, it's pretty good storytelling because with Rex, you start to go, man, he's blinded by if this is his friend, he's blinded by what he's maybe become. He could be evil. Maybe he's evil. And then turns out he's not.
Yeah.
He's a good cyborg.
Yeah.
Helpful.
Yeah. I think he could have let them in on the plan a little bit before he did it.
Well, he tried to. He tried to explain what he was doing, but they just didn't think. They thought that could backfire. Like, they may end up being surrounded because of what you're doing, and maybe doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But not at all. Yeah. I didn't doubt him once.
You were always on his side.
I was, I always saw this coming.
Yeah. You were always Team Echo.
I never doubted him.
Trench isn't done. This is only halfway through the episode that this happens.
Trench.
And so basically he decides if I can't control, he doesn't say this, but essentially what he's saying is if I can't control Anaxes, I'm going to destroy it.
And this shows you how much of a crazy maniacal thing he is to do that. To blow up. I mean, he literally is just going to destroy it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So apparently there's a bomb that's hidden in the assembly, literally right below where they're standing. And he starts the timer. And Anakin, several things happen all at once at this point. So Anakin runs to find Trench. Mace Windu tells the guys to get out of Dodge. So they're evacuating. And then the third thing is Mace actually goes to the bomb. So like there's three different movements that are all happening simultaneously, and they kind of go back and forth between all three of them. Mace drops down there and he's like, okay, Echo, if you can give me the code for this thing, since you're still connected to the computer or whatever, then I'll turn this thing off and deactivate it. But then a ray shield pops up and I was like, oh no, how's he going to get through this? The Force. He uses the Force. Pretty cool.
Really cool.
To move the dials up.
Absolutely.
It shows you the precision of the Force. Like you can understand it for like maybe a huge boulder or a human being or something like that.
Yep.
But like you can move like just the dial of like what is essentially like it looks like a soundboard.
Yeah.
Like the one we're using right now to record this podcast.
Yes.
Moves like individual dials one at a time up to certain numbers using the Force. So that was pretty cool. Trench's henchman, which I don't know if he's named. He's like this droid, super droid.
Trenchman. Trenchman, attack!
Maybe his name is Trenchman.
That'd be really funny. He was a Batman villain.
He's kind of there. You see these droids in every season, I think, of the Clone Wars, at least through from season 3 on, and they're kind of like a intelligence droid.
Yeah, they're like an I-99 or something like that. They're like what are they called? I've seen this.
They're essentially kind of almost like a sergeant, or more than a sergeant, like higher up,
super
like
intelligent
pretty
droid.
ranked up.
Like they're very highly skilled. They are, drumroll please. I don't know.
While you're looking that up,
his name is Kraken.
Kraken.
He's in 19. He's a come on man, come on pal. Super tactical droid.
Okay, that makes sense.
Super tactical droid.
Yeah. So he basically is able to trace the signal back to Echo and finds out it's coming from the ship. He sends a surge from the ship to that room and knocks him out, basically, and totally incapacitates Echo right when he's about to give the last and final number in the sequence. So stressful.
Gosh.
They don't know what the last number is. And then we see this awesome scene with Anakin and Trench. Do you want to talk about that?
Very.
There are two scenes in the episode that were really powerful for me. One was the Mace Windu one. The other one's this one.
Trench's character is a pretty long-standing character. He's survived a lot. When you first see him in Clone Wars, he's not a cyborg. He doesn't have all the metal on him. He's just a spider-looking character, just like his father, James Coburn from Monsters, Inc. Mm-hmm. And he is tied in universe now. And he has been blown up. People thought he was dead a couple different times, and now he's got this cybernetics on him, and he always survives. Well, this is the end for him.
Yeah,
they didn't cut. They cut. It does cut off 2 of his robot arms.
Yeah, I think there's
3 of them.
Three
of them cuts them off, and then ends up hammering a lightsaber through him. Which, if you're thinking about Anakin and you think, well, that's kind of, oh man, he's becoming Darth Vader more and more. No, he's killing a person that's killed probably millions of people.
Yeah.
Like literal.
I think
Trench is a crazy person.
I think there's two Anakins in the scene. So
Yeah.
I think we see Darkside Anakin just ever so briefly when he says, Trench basically says, you're not going to kill me. He calls his bluff. He's like, because he says, hey, if I give you the information, Wat Tambor is going to kill me. And he's like, if you don't give me the information, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, no, you won't. You're a Jedi. You don't, you're not, that's against your code. And he looks back with that kind of that dark side Anakin face.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't have such weaknesses. And then he slices off his arms. And so I think we see that Anakin, dark side Anakin. And then at the end, I think it is more, I think he's done with him at that point. He lets his anger subside. The dark side kind of, recesses a little bit. And then he gives him the last code, the number in the code, which is 7, by the way, season 7. Kind of interesting. But he says, okay, so, type in 7 or whatever. He pushes the dial up, and then the bomb is deactivated, and he's done. And I think he's on legit at that point going to leave him alive. But then of course Trench can't handle that. He goes in to attack him. He actually gets a weapon on him, and he starts electrocuting Anakin. And then so he takes his lightsaber and just jams it into his chest. And he's dead. But
it's over.
I think that's more probably light side Anakin. I think he's just defending himself at that point. But
Trench.
But yeah, you do actually. I think you do see, mainly because of that one line, I don't have such weaknesses. He actually sees the Jedi's refusal to kill as a weakness, and he's not sure he's cool with that anymore.
Right.
So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I really liked that exchange with them. It's very short, and like you said, almost. Inconsequential. His death is kind of treated as just like another blip.
Yeah, because he's a
pretty
kind of
major
big character. Yeah, I mean, for this show at least.
Yeah.
So. Anyway.
But yeah, he's clearly dead, and of course the ship blows up like a few minutes later. But he is shown to be lifeless on the ground. Like he hits the ground and his hand goes lifeless. So
sad.
Yeah, so he's dead. So that's a pretty major character being killed off in this season already. Then we see the escape. And before he leaves, Anakin grabs the one button that destroyed the whole ship, which I think is so awesome that every ship has that button. And Wrecker just like kind of football style kind of runs through a bunch of droids and ends up killing like 10 of them and all in a row. Shows more of his strength. At one point, you get to see a cool moment with Crosshair. Crosshair, I don't think has gotten a lot of love, to be honest, but he does have one moment to shine in this episode where he fires a single sniper blaster bolt, and it ricochets like 18 different times and kills like another 10 droids with one shot.
Jeez.
So pretty cool. And then they get back. All of them get onto the ship safely, the ship that they came in on, and get out of Dodge. And Anakin has a gift for Wrecker. I loved the scene. I knew it was coming. It was so easy to predict, but it was so cool to see, because I think Anakin, when he grabs it, he says, "Oh, Wrecker's gonna love this." And so they get on the ship, and he hands it to Wrecker. He's like, "I've got a present for you." And he gives him. He's like, "Yes, I get to blow up the ship."
"This is the greatest day of my life."
Yeah. I think he's really the only comic relief of the 4.
He's kind of funny. He's kind of like Drax. Like, if this was the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's kind of like Drax.
Yeah.
They need another character, though, that's more lovable, that can be like Rocket Raccoon. There's not another one like that, but he really is the only comedy relief.
I laughed a couple times at some of his lines. So, anyway, he hits the trigger, the Dreadnought goes up in smoke, which it goes up in this beautiful, like, rainbow color kind of puff of smoke. Is really interesting. Back on the grounds, Mace Windu congratulates Clone Force 99. They're clearly kind of wrapping up their story, and for helping them secure the fleet on Anaxes. And then Clone Force 99 is out. They're going on to the next thrill. And there's this very brief moment between Rex and Echo where he's like, they invite him to come with them, and Echo's like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I'm loyal to Rex and my brothers here, and Rex basically gives him permission. He's just like, hey, you're free now. Like, you make whatever decision
you do what you want to do.
And so he says, yeah, I'm going to go. And so now the Clone Force 99 has 5 members, and he's the 5th one.
Crazy.
Here's my guess is we won't see them again. I don't think we'll see Clone Force 99.
The only reason you'd see them again is in some ending situation. Do we think that Clone Wars
like the final episode of this season?
Do we think that Clone Wars is going to end in Order 66 is the question.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be so fascinating to watch. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that this is happening side by side of the events of episode 3, the movie.
Right.
That it is not a prequel. There are certain things that are happening right now that are not before the events of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It is concurrent with that movie.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if it ended with Order 66, that would be awesome
It would be
to
pretty cool.
watch. Yeah. So yeah, and I kind of wonder, like, is Clone Force 99 susceptible to Order 66 and all that? But yeah, it'd be fascinating to see all that. So that is not just the the end of episode 4, but the end of this entire story arc. So where there's not a lot that's known, that I couldn't find a lot of information, not that I necessarily want to be spoiled anyways, but episode 5 is definitely about Ahsoka Tano, which I'm super, super pumped about that. She's one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, and Ashley Eckstein is coming back to voice her, so this is going to be really cool. At least the next 2 episodes are going to be Ahsoka episodes, and we'll talk about them, again, combined in 2 weeks. We'll talk about both the episode 5 and 6 together. From what I can read, they're one story, just like we've seen them kind of in 2s so far, or multiples of 2. And there's a couple new characters in this episode, in episode 5, I think, that are introduced and also appear in episode 6 that we've not seen before. So I'm interested to learn more about. I think it's maybe even a race of people that we haven't seen much of or at all in Star Wars. And so there's some new Star Wars stuff coming in the next couple weeks. So definitely stay tuned for that. But I just cannot wait to get back to Ahsoka. As I've said many times on this podcast, I have not watched seasons 5 or 6. I'm halfway through season 4, but I did read a small spoiler, which I wasn't afraid of to read, that last we saw Ahsoka Tano in season 6 back in 2014, she has kind of gone her own way. Like, she's kind of said, okay, Anakin, you go your way, I'll go mine. We're not Padawan, we're not simpatico anymore. Like, I'm going to do my own path.
thing.
Yeah. And so when we see Ahsoka next week for episode 5, we won't be discussing it for 2 weeks. We're going to see a very different Ahsoka.
Right.
And I'm very excited to see what that looks like.
Cool. So, all right.
Just kind of basic, just kind of overall thoughts, whatever. I'm still amazed by the detail, like this actual CGI detail in these episodes. It looks real. Like, it looks, even though it's stylized to look animated, and like clearly, like, the beard on Obi-Wan is not real hair. Like, they're not going for reality.
But the animation is
it's so smooth,
so good now that it looks unbelievable.
When they're speaking, like, just, I know I'm getting into like nitty gritty details, but like the animation of their speech, the way that their mouth moves and the jawline, and like, it just looks real. It looks photoreal, even though they're not going for photoreal.
Right.
I'm just amazed at the color and all the shadow effects. It just looks so tight, so good. You can tell they've spent many, many, many hours, hundreds of hours on these episodes. So Dave Filoni is just killing it, I think, in these episodes, and the direction is really, really good. When the ships are like taking fire from the dreadnought, like the Republic ships are coming in or whatever, and they're getting attacked, you can see flak like flying off of the ships, like pieces of metal, like spinning out of control off the ships, and it looks like the movies.
Cool.
So I'm just really enjoying all that kind of stuff. I thought Trench's death was very significant for the series. That's not something we see a lot of. Even General Grievous is, attempted to be killed so many times and has been like rebuilt and stuff like that. And so, no, he's legit dead, and I think that's worth noting. And I think we'll see more of Anakin's turn to the dark side. It was such a brief moment in episode 4, but we're already seeing some separation between him and Obi-Wan going back to episode 1. And I think that we're going to see just a lot of that. I'll be interested to see if we even see Anakin for the next couple episodes, because it looks like it's going to be a side story.
Yeah.
With Ahsoka Tano, but definitely the back half of the season, episodes 7
they'll end up having to cross paths.
They're going to have to bring him back in, and I think maybe even kind of show where he starts to really turn over to the dark side, especially if it's concurrent with episode 3 of the movies. So,
but don't you hope that's the case? I really hope that's the case.
I do too.
I don't want to see just a casual nod to it or something like that. There's a group of sand people and he gives them all noogies or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of mean, Anakin.
Yeah.
Well, I'm mad.
I want to see him get mean. I really do.
Yeah, I really do.
This is the last we're going to see of the Clone Wars.
We need to see some bad stuff. And this storyline.
Yeah.
It might be the last we see the storyline for. I mean, of the Skywalker storyline for a long time, because this
Sure.
is like the last thread to tie it all to tie things up.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Star Wars is going to move in a little bit of a different direction, I think, people-wise, from here to there. So, anyway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with his character. So, right before hitting record this afternoon, before we came into the studio, I was on YouTube. I was watching the scene from Star Wars Episode 3, Mace Windu's death. So it's actually the moment where he first gets donned Darth Vader, and I couldn't remember some of the details of that scene, but it brought back to my memory that kind of the main impetus for him turning fully over to the dark side and becoming Darth Vader, and he actually looks at Palpatine directly in the face and says, "I accept your teaching. Like I'm now basically your Padawan, or whatever they call him on the dark side. I'm your rule of two."
Yeah.
And you know, I'm turning over this officially, whatever, is to save Padme's life.
Right.
That was the main reason.
That's the trick, though.
The
Emperor played on him, though.
Yeah.
The Emperor played that trick like she needed to be saved.
Yeah.
When in actuality she was always going to die, or maybe not.
Right.
You know. So
yeah. So
she died of a broken heart.
like Mace is actually getting ready to kill Palpatine. Like he's standing over him with a lightsaber. Palpatine is shooting electricity at him, but he's deflecting it with his lightsaber. And Samuel L. Jackson is going in for the kill. And Palpatine, instead of trying to fight Mace, pleads to Anakin for support and says, you know, "Save me. I'm the only one that can save her." And he's of course referring to Padme. So, and then you know, then I forget what Anakin does, but then. Oh no, he actually attacks Mace, and then the death blow is actually from Palpatine. So
death blow,
pretty interesting. I'll be interested to see if they do something that happens right before that event or something like that in the show. What else have you been watching on Disney Plus?
Spider-Man animated series, X-Men animated series,
Cool.
The Marvel stuff. Man, I think there's so many characters that we've yet to really see. I'm interested to see when they start bringing back Marvel movies and they start revamping some Marvel stuff. I'm interested to see where they go with things.
Yeah,
and I watch that stuff basically just to see characters that aren't mainstream type characters.
That will maybe never be in a movie.
Yeah, and I think at some point, and
what's give me like the name of a character that.
Well, I'm really excited about Morbius, and I'm excited about. I really want to see Blade in a movie and another movie,
Sure.
and I really want to see like Punisher. And I think that I've said this before. Like they really dropped the ball on tying the Netflix series people in. They could have tied in a very believable Luke Cage, a very believable Jessica Jones, a very believable Punisher, and it's Daredevil. Like Matt, that what's his name? Cox. What's his name? Anyway, that played Daredevil.
Yeah,
those guys are all believable. Iron Fist, I don't think they did that very good job of that one, but I think it's universally accepted that people think.
But all the others are like A-list stories and actors, and like
you could have just plugged them in. Like, and MCU, there's already this built-out thing, and they
clearly take place in the MCU universe because they talk about the Battle of New York.
Yeah,
and stuff
they
like
just
that, but
the movie people. I don't understand that the movie people don't ever want to tie it in. You know, DC even has actually done a better job of that now because. I mean, on that last crossover thing that the DC Universe stuff did on the CW shows, literal Ezra Miller's Flash was on that show as Flash.
About that,
and it's like this weird, like, oh well, DC did it. It didn't seem like that. Like, you know, nothing ended the world.
Wasn't that hard? Yeah,
the world didn't end. But I'm saying that you had these fully formed people that are already in this universe that you could have easily plugged those in. We could have a believable Punisher, believable all those other characters, and Daredevil. Like no Daredevil.
Yeah,
like Daredevil's a kind of a major character.
Weird,
like
I thought that was a shoe-in. Like I just assumed that was we were just waiting for that to happen.
But I think it's that attitude of like, oh, it's TV.
Yeah,
it's not as good as movies, which is like kind of dumb. I mean,
especially there was a lot of power behind Netflix. Like people didn't even see those as like TV shows. Like it was like
they were like standalone movies. Yeah,
movies.
All the time,
yeah.
Anyway, so all I'm saying is like I watch Spider-Man, I watch those type of things because of that. So anyway,
cool. Well, yeah, for me, it was a super busy week. I mostly just every time I would get home from work and had time to watch just even a couple episodes, I was tuning into more Clone Wars season 4. So my hope is to be wrapped up with season 4 within the next couple weeks. I think by the time we get back into talking about Clone Wars again, I'll probably have finished season 4. And then season 6 is so short. I think it's 13 episodes, maybe. I think it's one more than what the current season is. And season 5, I think, was 18. So I don't, honestly, I don't even have that many left after season 4 is over. So I'm still planning on getting all 7 seasons watched by the end of season 7. So we have a big announcement. You may have already seen this if you were planning on going, but Planet Comic-Con has been canceled.
And the actual word is postponed.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at maybe later this year doing it.
They said the fall. Yeah.
Or just waiting until next year and redoing it. So
yeah, I think because they're saying fall, I think they have a very small window. Because you get a little too late, like November, December, and it's like, well, there's only like 3 more months before it comes back around.
And they're dealing with this like, okay, yeah, you cancel it. Now when all the this COVID-19 stuff kind of worked through and that sort of thing, and we all get back to our regular lives. Well, they're trying to book a gigantic building, and that thing is booked we've talked to a lot of people about Planet Comic-Con. They will the people that book it and that sort of thing, they will book out. They'll have 3 dates or 4 dates that they're sent. Mm-hmm. That building's even available.
Yeah, what we've heard from people who are pretty inside with them is that they are booking as soon as that Comic-Con is over this year. They're already booking for next year.
Right.
So they're booking a year in advance for Bartle Hall Convention Center, and so if they're trying to look for this same year, like 5 months from now or 4 months from now, mm-hmm. I just don't know if that's going to happen. I think they're going to do as much as they can to work with the city to make that happen.
Right.
I think if they try to do it on like a weekday, like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's not a good idea, which limits the number of days that they even have available if they're only looking for weekends. So I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It is at the very least postponed and possibly permanently, totally canceled for this year. So we were going to do a live panel there. So
what a bummer.
Next week's episode was going to be a live episode, like in front of a live
and we would have talked about
audience.
That Ahsoka episode of Clone Wars.
Yeah, that would have been really fun to do at Comic-Con. So Ashley Eckstein was supposed to be there, not in our panel, but at Comic-Con.
No, actually she was. She was going to be there on the panel. That was our special guest, our surprise guest. Sorry, guys.
So I was definitely going to try to get a autograph or a picture with her, and so that's not going to happen now. But so very sad around here. But we are definitely looking forward to getting to Planet Comic-Con later this year if that happens. So next week's episode will just be a normal episode. It'll just be right here in the studio where we usually record. It won't be a live episode. And if you were planning on seeing us at Planet Comic-Con, sorry, we'll just have to see you hopefully this fall at that Comic-Con. And if there are any other opportunities for us to do some kind of a live event, we'll of course let you know in advance if there is any live events in the world in the next couple of months. The coronavirus has definitely changed a lot of things around here, so we are moving forward. And next week here's the plan. We may not record at our usual time. In fact, we almost certainly won't. We typically record on Saturdays, and I get the episode up usually on Saturday night, between Saturday night and Sunday night. Next weekend, I don't think we're probably going to record it all, and it might be like that following Monday. So we're thinking maybe the 23rd is like the earliest that it might be up. It might not actually upload until the 24th. So give us a few extra days for this next episode. The reason why is we want to have some guests on, and they're out of town this weekend or this next weekend, and so that's not going to work. So we're hopefully, if you listen to the High School Musical, the musical series episode, we're looking at probably having a couple guests, at least one, if not a couple guests from that episode come back, and then possibly a new guest, talking to Jack's wife, Amanda, to see if she might be interested. So at least 3, if not 4 people discussing Stargirl, which is the new straight to Disney Plus exclusive movie that just got released, I think earlier this week or maybe last weekend. It's a teen high school romance drama musical type of movie. So definitely one that I would like to watch, but is probably a little out of my wheelhouse.
And I feel like I'll speak for ourselves, or I'm going to speak for myself. I know me personally, I get in, and my wife always calls me on this, I get in this like, okay, blah, 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 like kind of attitude about things like that. So this will help not be a sarcastic jerk, because I just critique things. Like, I know Clone Wars, you guys hear me, or a lot of Disney Plus stuff we talk about is all good and positive.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, because the prior podcast I was on, all we did was like crap on things, like nonstop.
Things, yeah.
So like, when I watch stuff, like I automatically go to critic mode, and so this will be good to keep it in check.
You be you, man. If you're critical of the
well,
movie,
I know, but I may do it just because it's like, oh, great, high school, blah blah blah, because that's what I do all day. So like,
we watched the trailer right before hitting record.
It looks fine. It looks good.
It's definitely not one that I would pay a theater ticket price to go see.
But there are lots of people that would.
Movies. Yeah.
There are lots of people that would.
Absolutely. And I think this movie will be very popular with a certain age group, younger age folks. And so I think it's one that people will probably want to hear a review on. And if they watch it and like it, they're maybe listening to it.
But it's labeled as a musical, which is interesting. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of singing even in the trailer. So yeah, it'll be an interesting watch. So very different from what we usually do, but I think it'll be appealing to a lot of our audience out there. So tune in for a Stargirl. I almost said Scargirl. Discussion next week. We'll skip Clone Wars. Definitely watch Clone Wars. We'll geek out about it in 2 weeks. But next week we'll talk about Stargirl. As always, write the show at disneyplusreviews@hotmail.com. Let us know what you've been watching on Disney Plus or what you want us to discuss. Let us know your thoughts about Stargirl. If you have any of your own, if you've seen it and you have like a 3 or 4 sentence review that you want to send our way, we'd love to read it on the show next week. So we will see you then for some Stargirl.
See ya.